guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be showing off my new Palit GeForce GTX 1660 6GB StormX graphics card. Now, this card in the market pretty much goes head to head with the AMD 5500 XT. These cards are really only meant to be for people that are aiming to play at 1080p, and they do 1080p gaming really well. Now, the reason I've purchased this is really to complement my streaming and dedicated recording PC, as it has better support for HDR and is less power consumption, and I may start bringing you some 1080p content. So I've gone up and upgraded because my 3GB 1060 just wasn't cutting it. Just a few specs here on the back of the box: 450 watt power supply or greater, 8GB of RAM, Windows 10 and Windows 7 is supported. Doesn't say anything about XP, funnily enough, and a PCI Express 3.0 connection. So when you take off the sleeve, you get presented with a brown slim box. I mean, the card itself is really small, so you can see Palit I've gone ahead and saved on the packaging, as there's no real need to make things overly large. And let's get this open and see how they've packaged it. So you can see the card itself comes in foam. There's a foam at the top as well, which I've obviously flipped up so you guys can see the card. The card itself is very secure. There doesn't seem like there's too much room for it to wriggle around, and it's encased with an anti-static bag, which also gives you a static shock warning. So yeah, that should get to you pretty safely in transit. Shouldn't be too many problems there. The card itself now is very small, perfect for an RTX build, and it's got a 10cm fan there, which pretty much takes up around about 70% of the actual shroud itself. I'm just gonna go down here so you can see there's actually 3 heat pipes here. Now, the card is rated for 120 watt TDP. Of course, if you are gonna overclock, it will start being a bit more demanding than that, but it'll be interesting to see how this card cools with such a small cooler. It's got GDDR5 memory, so that's going to produce a bit more heat as well than GDDR6. The output, you've got a HDMI display port and a DVI port, one of each. These are the main connections that are still being used. DVI is pretty much getting phased out now, as it's an analog signal, so we're going with the more digital now. So one of each is pretty good on the card this size. Looking at the card itself from above, you can see it's got a single 8-pin PCI Express power connector, so there shouldn't be too many issues with the card drawing too much power from the motherboard, as it has got adequate power there. Everyone remembers the issues with AMD and Polaris when that first came out. And you can see it's a dual sort card as well, so if you're going to be putting any PCI Express cards next to it, make sure you've got enough clearance. Looking at the backplate, well, there is no backplate, but looking at the rear side of the PCB, see they've opted not to add a backplate just to kind of save cost. And you can see that the actual cooler itself is just hanging over the edge of the PCB there. With a card of this size, that's to be expected. And nothing really going on here. 4 screws holding on the heatsink, as you can see there, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I've got this card to complement my recording and streaming PC. It has better support for HDR content, and also has 6GB of RAM. It's a little bit faster than GTX 1060, so I can start bringing you guys some 1080p gameplay. So you've seen it. I've been very happy to present it to you. This is the Palit StormX 6GB GTX 660.